as of Q2 2026, there are 7.8 million Americans that are currently actively unemployed. This represents 4.3% of the working class in America, where that number is around 170 million abled bodies. 170 million people who are able to work, who are not at retirement age, or who represents a group of retirement aged Americans who are still working. So the working class is expanding. We know this, right? We know the working class is expanding for mostly negative reasons, for mostly economic reasons, cost of living, health care, low wages over the last couple of years, things like that. So, is this surprising? Is it surprising that almost 8 million Americans don't have a job? I'll put it to you like this. If there are 20 people on your block, if you live in a community, in a neighborhood where there's 20 houses, as it stands in June 2026, 1 in every 20 households are not making income. I'll put it to you straight. Guys, if you have 20 friends, one of those friends are jobless. And they've been jobless for a while. I'll go even further. If you guys have 100 people on your block, or there's 100 people in your neighborhood, right? 18 to 20 of those households, 18 to 20 of those people, the breadwinners, are jobless. And 4 to 5 out of those people have been jobless for 6+ months. I want y'all to understand the math. 4.3% of Americans, all Americans that represent the working class, are unemployed. And out of that 4.3%, 23 to 24% of those Americans have been unemployed for 6+ months. There's been people that I've seen on LinkedIn and I've seen on comments on YouTube who's been unemployed for a year to 2 years, guys. This is not taking a vacation. This is forced termination. Guys, this is serious. Almost 8 million people are unemployed, and almost 2 million of those people, 1.6 to 1.7 million of those people, have been looking for a job for over 27 weeks. They're in that group, in that bracket of long-term unemployment, where effectively, depending on your state, you do not receive unemployment benefits any longer. And I'm gonna tell y'all this. Sorry, there's a lot of traffic today, it's Monday. But I'm gonna tell y'all this. Go this way, let it go. Change the route up on y'all a little bit. A lot of traffic on this main road. I'm gonna tell y'all this, guys. The unemployment benefits ain't shit anyway. You know what's crazy? And I'm gonna get to this a little bit later. I'm not gonna try to overdo it with this video, because obviously you guys see kind of where I'm coming from with this information. Like, it's detrimental. The U.S. economy is literally killing us. There's no figurative speech or figurative tone I have. That's literal. It's literally killing us. Because when you think about getting laid off from a job, right? Even if you're only making $800 to $900 a week, single or family, right? $800 to $900 a week, like, you know, which basically represents minimum wage, right? So you're making that much, or maybe that little, you get unemployed. Guys, the unemployment rate has nothing to do with your household count. It has nothing to do with your experience. It is a flat rate that these government officials, these bureaucracies created to control us, to keep us down. Like, guys, there are people with PhDs who's been unemployed and they can only make up to $300 a week, depending on the states they live, up to $600 a week, depending on the states they live, up to 600 when they were making that, an hour. You guys get what I'm saying? So that's another topic. But long-term unemployment has affected 1.6 to 1.7 million Americans today, where these people have been out of work for 6+ months. They're now not receiving any pay. They're living off of their savings. And there's a lot of people who are having to sell their stuff, who are having to go to foreclosure, right? Who are having to just stop paying bills, like altogether, because they've gone through their savings, which is another thing. We've either lived above means or we're not getting paid enough. It's a mixture of both, to where within 6 to 12 months, we run through our savings. Now, we can't tap into our SSI, but I would assume a lot of people tap into their 401k when shit hits the fan. So now, you see how this works? So now we're redacting our years from retirement. Life and the economy now is affecting us 15, 20, 30 years down the line. This is why we can't retire. And this stuff, this redaction stuff, this struggle keeps happening, guys. It keeps happening. And you know what? It's truly no one's to blame, like directly, we can't say it's Biden. We can't say it's Bush. We fully can't say it's Trump. Not fully. Why? Because they're the puppeteers. They're just the face. They're the mascot in this whole clown show that we're living in this matrix, I like to call it, that we're living in, they're the ones who's responsible for selling the propaganda. It's not them. So I need people to miss me when they're like, well, Biden did this, or Trump is doing this, or, Barack ain't really do much. He didn't really represent us. And, all this stuff, right? And I'm only talking about people who I grew up in, right? I came in under the Bush administration. I came in as I got plugged into this matrix. I was born in here when Bush was president, or when Bush was becoming president, at least the first Bush, excuse me. So anyway, yeah, it's hot. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, this is where we're at. This is where we're at, guys. Let me know in the comments if you are one of the 7.8 million people affected. And you know what's crazy? These statistics, it unifies us. We could dig deeper into the demographics behind, what income level has been affected more, what education level has been affected more, what ethnic group, what locations. But at the end of the day, an effect is an effect. At the end of the day, whether I'm a high school graduate or I have 3 PhDs, if I'm unemployed, I am unemployed. Now, I would assume the PhD, the one with the degrees, the one with the work experience, the ones making more money, should have more money on them to get them afloat or keep them afloat. But at the end of the day, for face value, we're all unemployed. We're all now unified for this negative metric. We all will get a very controlled and subsidized amount for unemployment, and we all will have it run out within 13 to 27 weeks. Like, I think Florida's 13 weeks. So guys, that number is still skewed. That number includes everybody within the states, but there's certain states where your unemployment runs out way sooner than 27. And keep me honest. Let me know in the comments. Let me know you guys' experience. These are people who were looking to retire within the next 3 to 5 years. And now, since they've been unemployed for the last 6 to 12 months, they can't retire now. Their retirement track, is delayed, it's prolonged. There are people who graduate college right? Who are on the track from graduating, um, early to mid 20s. And that's decline too. These people who are getting jobs, right, that path has stopped, guys. It's turmoiled. It's done. It stopped. And there's people who are heavily affected. There's people who are increasing or accumulating their debt, thinking that's their investment, and they're going back to their people's house. They're going back to their parents' house, their family members' house, because they can't get a job. They can't apply for an apartment or get a home. God forbid, right? Like we're not doing. Excuse me. We're doing everything we thought we were supposed to do for the last 50 to 60 years, right? But guys, everything we're doing is not just working. It's almost in an adverse effect, if that makes sense. What our grandparents did, or more so our parents did, it it worked. It worked for them. I mean, times have changed. The Matrix ain't gonna allow everybody to succeed, bro. Like, and women, like, it's natural selection at its best. We gotta adapt. Let's kind of think of Darwinism in a way, right? Don't really think about, you know, the evolution of man, coming from monkeys, but just think of just the adaptation. What we're doing has become primitive. It's primitive. Guys, we already have to worry about inflation. Guys, we already have to worry about the environmental factors, the external environmental factors with the government, i.e. the Iranian war. We can never control that. We can never control stuff like that. We can never really control diplomacy. you know we already got to worry about social injustices and issues, right? A threat to our security. Like me, if I'm walking around a certain place, I am a threat. I'm posing a threat to other people. That's what I got to worry about. This is far beyond the 7.8 million people who just can't make an income anymore. This is beyond that. That's just the start of it. I want y'all to understand, right? I want y'all to get it. Population control, manipulation. Guys, this is real stuff. The system, look, I'm telling y'all, the system represents a select few people who don't look and represent us. That's just it. So how in the world do we continue to vote? How in the world do we continue to move as if we're gonna change or move the needle for us, for our community? Like, it don't work. Basically what I'm saying is, when you're digging a hole and you've reached 100 feet, right, and you're hitting concrete with a shovel, that's where we're at in today's society. That's where we're at in today's America. We the people, no, it's we the government. There's no pursuit of happiness. The path is tumultuous, guys. We're hitting this reinforced concrete with a brittle shovel. That's what we're doing in today's society. Thinking we're gonna crack the code. We're not. We're not. We're not. Unemployment, right? You guys can look it up. It's risen, drastically since 2017, and obviously again since 2022, especially coming out of the COVID kind of pandemic. Guys, it's just, let me know in the you tell me, does anybody see where it gets slightly better? I was watching videos, and I'm gonna end it here, guys. I was watching some stuff, right? Because my news is now through YouTube, right? CBS, CNN, stuff like that, right? Those channels. Because I gotta keep aware about where I'm from, why I left, and how it's gonna affect the people that are still currently in that society, in that environment. Like, I have to be aware of that. It'll be an unjust service to me if I'm not understanding, right, the outcome of a place that birthed me. That makes sense. And it's like I've been hearing stories where, and it's not stories, it's news, so excuse me, it's what people are actually going through. I've been hearing news to where, inflation with gas, and that's all around the world, happening due to the, Iranian and Israeli war, like, gas increase, guys, food, guys, food is crazy. I heard a family went from paying around $1,000 a month to about $2,500 a month in food for the same food. If not less volume, because God forbid the quality stays the same, if not less volume. The amount of bags they carry at the store, right? That's an increase of like what, 150%? You're talking about over the last 3 to 6 months. This is not over the last 3 to 6 years. This year, I'm hearing people's rent all over the damn nation, especially in places like California, where these tech people, right? These tech kids, these companies are coming in, kind of fucking up the system, thinking everybody's gonna be making that type of bread. So you guys probably heard it, right? That family in San Diego, excuse me, and keep me honest. Their rent, which is already, it's all outlandish to me. It's all outlandish. Their rent was more than our mortgage for a 5-bedroom, 4-bath home on the water. Their rent was more than our mortgage, and they're paying for a 2-bedroom condo. And it's rent, right? $3,700. And they raised it to $7,000. And you guys start paying $7,000 in the next 3 months. Well, that means I have to get a whole nother full-time job. And how am I gonna get that when the unemployment rate is where it's at? Like, it's out of control. It's all out of control. This is far beyond how many people are unemployed right now. This is far beyond it. Because this is what affects unemployment, guys. When you're not mentally stable, people will quit a job and become unemployed almost voluntarily. I say almost because it's not fully on them. The effects of their world is drowning them, and you can't commit to a job no longer, or you're tired of the bull crap. You're tired of the fakeness, the micromanagement, the diplomacy on your job, where you're fighting with all the struggle within external environments outside of your job. Right? So that's gonna force people to quit. So people are being forced to quit because of their mental aptitude, and then people are getting laid off because of all these other environmental factors, right? These companies are not getting their stock, right? These companies, they're not able to keep up with their inventory. These companies are losing contracts because of manufacturing issues, because of material issues, right? These companies don't need employees. They don't need that human factor because of generative AI. Like, guys, this is a full circle issue. So anyway, I don't want to keep beating this on a hammer, but it's like I need to, guys, it's like, so Deshaun, what are you saying, right? Guys, if I'm looking at A through Z 1,000 different ways, then what do you think I'm saying? Maybe it's time to go. I mean, I know you can't just leave tomorrow. And I know people don't really know where to go, but it's like, dang, like, maybe we have to get to a point where we're starting to live in a different type of way. I don't know, guys. You guys let me know. I really want to know the understanding that the current American citizen living in America is thinking on it. Like, what are y'all plan? It's just, we just continue until we just, pass out. I really want to know. I do. So if this is your first time seeing Black, hit a sub. And I'm not here to sugarcoat nothing. I tell people, I respond to these comments, I'm like, God, I want people to live. Like, we gotta live. We're working astronomically way harder than we ever really should. than we were supposed to, guys. Everything is just harder. Everything is it's volatile. Everything is seasonal and temporary. I feel like it's like you gotta walk on eggshells to keep a job. No, there's no sense of security from a financial standpoint, and God forbid, from just a human, and physical standpoint. We gotta deal with so much. Is that not taxing? Let me know in the comments if you guys are taxed. Are y'all tired yet? Like I tell my wife all the time, we look at people who doing these crash out videos and stuff like that, and people are talking about everything. I'm like, are y'all not tired? I mean, I know it's one thing to talk about. Keep talking about it, right? Keep putting that emotional, awareness out, I guess. But I tell my wife, what happens after we stop recording? We talk about we're tired of this shit on Fridays, and we go right back to work. I know we have the light bill, but our mind doesn't care, because what happens when our mind goes, everything else goes. So how much are we willing to sacrifice from a human perspective? We're humans, guys. We need basic conditions. We need some sort of shelter. We need some sort of food. We need some sort of water. Everything else, guys, is extra. It's economic. It's industrial. It's digital. All this shit, you're right. We forget that stuff. We forget it because we're clothed in masks with all this material stuff. Basic living. Can we get back to basic living? Can anybody live? If y'all found this somewhat motivational or inspirational or just telling, I don't know. I'm not really motivating you guys. I just want you guys to think about life. I don't know. And share this video out. And keep maneuvering, guys. It's not looking good, and that's just the thing I gotta harp on. Nobody really wants to harp on that, but I hope we do have a plan, man.